I Beat Loneliness, the new album from Bush, is so bland, dull, and generic that it makes you wonder if this is even the same band that made 16 Stone all those years ago. We're going to break it down on this edition of Rock Album Review. Hey everybody, it's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the channel. I Beat Loneliness is Bush's 10th studio album. It's the follow-up to 2022's The Art of Survival. And I would say that I'm a moderate Bush fan going back to their 1990s heyday when they released 16 Stone and Razor Blade Suitcase. You see, when I was in 8th grade, back in the day, kids in my class were distinctively in two different camps. You were either a Bush fan or an Oasis fan, and obviously I chose Oasis. But to be honest, I really liked Bush too at the time. All the big hits from 16 Stone were big parts of my youth. Razor Blade Suitcase was another big record when I was growing up, but I eventually kind of fell off with them as I got into high school. And we have to remember that back in the 90s, if you were a kid in Canada, they weren't called Bush. They were called Bush X. Eventually, they got all that name stuff figured out, but back in the day, if you were a kid in the 90s, they were Bush X in Canada. And the last time that I actually listened to a full Bush album was back in the early 2000s. You know, the album The Science of Things and Golden State, which came out back in 2001. But I really love some of the stuff that they've released over the years. I love Sound of Winter from 2011's Sea of Memories. I like the track The Only Way Out from 2014's Man on the Run, and the song Into the Blue, which was featured on the Avengers soundtrack in 2012. So even though I haven't really delved into much Bush since their heyday back in the mid-1990s, I've enjoyed some of the post-90s music that Bush have put out over the years. But this new album, I Beat Loneliness, is not among it. Yeah, this album is among the most generic, dull, and uninspiring rock music that I've heard so far in 2025. And I came away from this listening experience not really enjoying any of the 12 tracks that are on this album, which isn't a good sign for a band that wrote so many of those great hits back in the day. Aside from Gavin Rossdale's still distinctive and solid voice, which is still the anchor of Bush's sound, the rest of the performances and the songwriting itself leave a lot to be desired on this record. Right from the first song, Scars, I found myself during this whole listening experience just trying to find a hook, a melody, something that I could grab onto with these songs. But every song on this record has the same generic modern rock formula. It's produced well. There's some good tones and sounds on this record. It has all the elements of a modern rock, an active rock record like this should in 2025. But every song, from the title track I Beat Loneliness to I Am Here to Save Your Life, it all feels so lifeless. Like I said, I will admit there are some good tones on here, some good sounds from a modern rock musician production perspective. You know, the bass on We're All the Same on the Inside is pretty badass. There are some good bass moments happening on here, but really that's not why you're going to be listening to a Bush record and be like, oh, let's put on the Bush record and listen to the bass. Like, that's not going to happen. But, you know, in the guitar department, if you're looking for like one distinctive riff, like one decent standout guitar part, there's not a lot of that happening in that department on this record. Everything is so muted and dull that nothing stands out from the pack. The already released singles from the album are the best that you're going to get here. The songs The Land of Milk and Honey and 60 Ways to Forget People. I was listening intently through the entire album to find one hook, one chorus that would get me going and get me excited about listening to a new Bush album, and it never happened. Shitty choruses abound on this record. Yeah, 60 Ways to Forget People, I think, is the best song on this record, in addition to being the lead-off single. I enjoy some of the electronic elements of Bush's sound. They've always done that, going back to remixes that they did back in the day, but the sound is very generic modern rock. Like, the choruses don't soar like they should. Not that I'm saying that everything should have this like, oh, big chorus to it, but nothing really ever picks up in the chorus. It just maintains the same vibe as the verse. And it feels like this just doesn't have the personality of a Bush record that it should. And it sounds like a million other modern rock bands that are out there doing the same thing right now. Same elements, rinse and repeat, aside from Gavin's voice. And it kept my attention through the majority of the first half of the album. I was still looking for some big choruses, some big hooks to get me invested in this, but listening to the second half of I Beat Loneliness was beyond a slog, okay? The second half of the album, from songs like Love Me Till the Pain Fades all the way to the album closer, Rebel with a Cause, Every song just melded into each other in a wash of generic guitars and drums with only, again, this is the thing I keep saying in this review, only Gavin Rossdale's voice kind of redeems some of these songs, but everything else on the second half of the album was very generic, and I had a hard time keeping my attention throughout the second half of the record. And Gavin Rossdale, you know what, he could use to shorten some of these song titles. They're as catchy as the songs themselves, which is to say, not at all. There are some shorter song titles on here. The opening track, Scars, the title track, I Beat Loneliness. But then like songs like We're All the Same on the Inside. Couldn't we call that On the Inside? I'm Here to Save Your Life. How about we just call it Save Your Life? 60 Ways to Forget People. That's a pretty catchy title. We'll leave that. Love Me Till the Pain Fades. Why not just call it Pain Fades? We Are Of This Earth, which is a really bad song on this record, by the way. Why not just call it Of This Earth? Everyone is Broken. Don't Be Afraid. Footsteps in the Sand. Like the song titles on this album are generic, and in all honesty, as I'm reading these song titles, I could not hum or sing a single chorus of any of these songs for you, and that is a problem when you're listening to a big band like Bush. As I said at the beginning of the review, the new album from Bush, I Beat Loneliness, is so dull and generic and uninspiring. It makes you wonder if this is even the same band that made 16 Stone, and I know it's not the same band aside from Gavin Rossdale, who made 16 Stone. None of the original members are still in Bush aside from Gavin Rossdale, but he's got some solid players with him. They sound good. They perform well together. It's just the songs themselves go nowhere and do nothing. And when you listen to a 12-song album and you're reviewing an album for a channel like this, you're hoping for something to grab onto. I just wanted one hook, something that I could sing at the top of my lungs, and it just didn't happen. If I was going to say any songs that I do like on this record, I like The Land of Milk and Honey. I like 60 Ways to Forget People. The singles that were already released from this record, it's obvious that's why they were released as singles, because they're among the stronger songs on this album. But other than those two songs, I did not like a single track on Bush's I Beat Loneliness, and that's pretty disappointing. And I don't want to give this album a 1 out of 5. That feels just far too cruel for me to do, so I'm going to give the new album from Bush, their 10th studio album, I Beat Loneliness, a 2 out of 5. And that is it, guys. That is my rock album review for the new album from Bush, I Beat Loneliness. Very disappointing listen. I did not like this album at all, but maybe I'm the only one. Hop into the comments below. Let me know what you thought of the new record from Bush, I Beat Loneliness. Did you like it? How does it rank among other Bush albums? Because again, I haven't listened to a lot of Bush in the last decade, so maybe this is better than some of their last few albums. Maybe it's worse than some of the last few albums. Let me know in the comments below. If you like this review, would really appreciate it if you toss me a thumbs up. That'd be most excellent. And make sure to smash the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. And make sure to share this video with your friends and fellow rock fans on the internet. You can also follow me on social media across platforms at Nick Chino Music. But I'll see you guys again for another rock album review here on the channel. Until then, rock on, everybody.